YouTube. It's been a fucking minute. I apologize for like the delay in videos and everything like that. I've just been life's been crazy, but I appreciate the support on these last few videos. It's been absolutely insane, and seeing your guys' comments and people that are enjoying the videos has been awesome. So appreciate you guys for watching. But today I wanted to talk about patience, right? Because, I don't really think people fail because they're lazy as often as we like to believe. More often than not, I really think people just quit too soon, right? We live in a world where almost everything happens instantly. We're hungry, we can just order food and food will be in our door in half an hour. By the way, I think it's like absolutely fucking insane that we pay some random person who's not hired by like an actual, not that DoorDash isn't an actual business, but like not like a pizza joint or something to deliver our food. I think that's absolutely fucking insane. But regardless, if we have a question, AI can answer it in seconds. And if we want to watch a movie or maybe learn something new, we really don't have to wait for it to come on TV anymore. We can just open up an app and press play. YouTube alone has made it possible to really learn almost anything whenever we feel like it, and without ever even realizing it, we've gotten used to everything happening on demand. Eventually we start expecting life to work really the same way. This reminds me of is the 10,000 hour rule. It's not because there's really some magic number where you suddenly become great at something. It's really just the bigger idea is that mastery takes a ridiculous amount of time. Thousands of hours of showing up, practicing, making mistakes, and getting a little bit better each day. Most people don't quit because they aren't capable of reaching that level. They quit because they never stuck around long enough to get anywhere close. I think we tend to underestimate how much time it takes to be genuinely good at something, and at the same time we overestimate what we can accomplish really in just a few simple weeks. Life isn't some GTA RP server where you grind for a week and suddenly own the biggest business in the city. Things that actually matter usually take a long time, right? So stuff like building a career, learning a skill, becoming financially stable, or simply just becoming the kind of person you want to be doesn't really happen over the course of a weekend. But the moment we don't see progress after a month or two, we just kind of start convincing ourselves that something must be wrong. Maybe the workout isn't working, the business idea wasn't as good as we thought, maybe we're just not cut out for really anything, when really the only thing that's happened is not enough time's passed. I think that's something we don't really hear enough anymore. Sometimes the answer isn't finding a better strategy or completely starting over. I think sometimes the answer is just sticking with it. Patience isn't sitting around doing nothing and hoping everything magically works out. It's trusting that the work you've put in today is building something you'll benefit from later, even if you can't see it yet. And honestly, it's a lot harder than it sounds. Patience isn't really something we're born with. It's something life forces us to learn, because almost everything we're chasing moves slower than we'd like. I think we all know that logically, but for some reason it's just harder for us to accept emotionally. We know getting stronger takes time. We know learning a new skill isn't supposed to be easy. Careers don't happen overnight, but yet after a few weeks, we still catch ourselves wondering why we weren't further ahead. Part of that comes from how we grew up, right? School gave us a pretty predictable system. You studied for a test, a few days later you got a grade. You finished one school year and moved on to the next. You practiced all season, then eventually there was a game or even a championship. There was always some kind of feedback telling you whether you were making progress. Then adulthood comes crashing along and completely changes the rules. You can spend months doing everything right and still feel like you're standing in the exact same place. It's really uncomfortable because we naturally just want proof of that what we're doing matters. When we don't get that proof, I think our minds start filling in blanks. Maybe you start thinking to yourself, I'm wasting my time, it isn't for me, or maybe everyone else has something that I don't. I've really had those thoughts myself more times than I'd like to admit. I'll start working towards something, I'll feel motivated for a while, then a month or two later, I'll just start wondering if any of it is making a difference. But then I remind myself a month really isn't that long. Even 6 months isn't very long if you're really trying to build something that you hope lasts for years. That's what patience really is. It's continuing to move forward without needing constant reassurance that you're on the right path. It's accepting that today's effort might not turn into tomorrow's results. Sometimes it does, but more often than not, the payoff comes much later. Think about the first time you learned something completely new. Maybe it was fishing, editing videos, learning an instrument, or picking up a new skill from work even. At first, every mistake stood out. It felt like you weren't improving at all. Then somewhere along the way, without even realizing what happened, things started to feel easier. You stopped overthinking every little step. The things that once felt impossible became second nature. It wasn't because one incredible day changed everything. It was because of all the ordinary days where you kept practicing, even when it didn't feel like you were getting anywhere. Sometimes I wonder how many people quit during those ordinary days. Not because they lacked talent or ability, but because they confused a lack of visible progress with a lack of progress altogether. Convenience has really just made life easier in a lot of ways, but I also think it's changed our expectations. We can have almost anything we want with a push of a button. Over time, that starts affecting how we view long-term goals. We expect life to respond as quickly as technology does, but it rarely ever works that way. Confidence isn't built in just a few weeks. Trust isn't earned overnight. I think becoming someone you're genuinely proud of happens so gradually that we usually don't even notice until we look back. That's something I've been reminding myself lately. Time is going to pass whether I spend it worrying or not. A year from now is coming either way, so instead of asking, why isn't it happening faster? I've started asking myself, am I becoming the person that's ready for the opportunity when it shows up? That one question changes the way you look at patience. It stops feeling like waiting and starts feeling like preparation. Comparison doesn't help you either, you know? Everyone says comparison is a thief of joy, and I really struggled with that when I was younger. It's incredibly easy to look around and really just feel like your friends, family, everyone else is moving faster than you. Someone's buying a house, getting married, lands a better job, or reaching a goal that you've been chasing yourself, and for that moment it feels like you've somehow fallen behind. But you're behind according to who? Everyone starts from a different place, has different opportunities, different setbacks, and different priorities. There isn't some universal timeline we're all supposed to follow, even though it can feel like there is. I've also realized that consistency isn't nearly as exciting as motivation, but it's a whole lot more dependable. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you'll feel like working towards your goals, and other days you won't want to do anything at all besides lay in bed. Patience is what carries you through those days. It's what keeps you showing up after the excitement wears off. Maybe that's why patience is so valuable. Not because it guarantees success, but because of what it turns you into along the way. It teaches you discipline, builds resilience, and really just proves to yourself that you're capable of sticking with something even when there isn't an immediate reward. And looking back, that's probably the biggest lesson. Almost everything worth having asks for one thing: more time than we'd like to give it. So if it feels like you're moving slower than everyone else, don't think you should assume that you're failing. If your hard work hasn't paid off yet, don't assume it never will. Sometimes the only difference between the people who, eventually succeed and the people who don't is that one group stayed around long enough to see the results. I think you should keep showing up, keep doing the work, and one day you'll look back and realize the progress you thought wasn't happening was quietly happening the entire time.